All right, so greetings, family. Today is February 9th, the year 2020, and this is session 4, Rebuilding the Avatar. True nutrition only comes from the constituents of one's own blood. The avatar produces its own food. Stop breaking the loop. So you see in session 3, we actually talked about what disease actually is, and it's how it's actually an adaptative measure by the body, by the DNA. So when you get high levels of toxicity, you see the body tries to make adjustments and contain the poisons to protect the major organs. And we talked about how your habits and your lifestyle pollutes the bioterrain that changes the nature and mind of the cell. So the body is only a reflection of the mind, you see, and the body was designed to live forever or for as long as you desire. You see, it's because there is the only reason the main reason the body crashes down is because we forgot the self-knowledge, or well, it ain't just that, but there were many things that happened here on Earth, like we spoke about in session 2, talking about the cataclysmic events that took place, the wars that took place. There used to be a canopy over the Earth, and that's when, I guess that's back when it was more Edenic-like, you see. But what you can come to find out is what this class is, and I'm actually writing a book that I want to release sometime at the end of this year. The name of the book is The Abused Avatar, and it's really in depth. It's not really a long book. It's probably just going to be about 150 to 200 pages, kind of straight to the point. But basically, the whole gist of the book, and mainly what this class would be talking about, is to give you the understanding of how we kicked God out of Eden, you see? We didn't necessarily, God didn't kick us out of Eden. In this day and age, we're kicking perfection out of the avatar, because the nature and the way the higher forces work is that they're always trying to produce a perfected human being. And we're actually living in a cosmic game, all right? An illusion is pretty interesting, because when you incarnate, your memory is completely wiped out. Now, if you were allowed to remember everything, you would have figured out the game in literally probably one day. So it wouldn't really have been a challenge, you see? So your memory's wiped out, and you actually chose to come here, and this was your consent, you see? So the holy books, a lot of the holy books, the gist of the holy books, the metaphors are mainly about esoteric knowledge and secrets of the human body, and the subtle bodies that actually live, that you actually have in different dimensions, you see? So, but if you waste your fuel here on Earth, you won't be able to access certain cellular archives or wake up certain dormant processes within the body. So now what we're gonna kind of get into is the gist of what's the difference between an angel and a demon, you see? So now, in our society, in our culture, we are raised to be demons in the temple, always taking, never giving back, abusing the avatar.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me make sure. When it's mute, abusing the avatar until it crashes. So I kind of took this, someone sent me this, and it's really interesting how this broke it down between angel and demon. And it says, here's a visual representation of angels and demons. I figured that as angels, their horns would glow when connected to become traditional halos. However, this blinds the angel with heavenly light, making the angel rely on God's guidance, on the law, okay? Now, angels who break their halos become demons and willingly grow their horns in obscure shapes so it won't connect back into a halo, because the halo no longer blinds them. Demons can finally see, but can no longer communicate with God for guidance. The light they once gave to heaven now belongs to them. Hence, demons being proficient with fire, allowing them to see in the dark. Okay? So when we break that down and what that means, notice all of the religious figures, the mythological figures, you see Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, okay? All of them had halos around their head. Now, an angel is someone who allows their avatar to recycle, rebuild, reuse, and regenerate its own substances so that the higher forces can work to perfect and fuel up the mothership to make the frequency shift out of this parasitic paradigm. The halo is known as closing the loop. The crystallized higher intentions of the dark stars we spoke about in session 1 are kept, and the cells then begin to have higher instructions. And this is what's called the great work, or with the true Freemasons, the true Freemasonic work, where meditation allows for the light, where you bring the light into the avatar and you start to spiritualize matter. Okay, you spiritualize the atoms. The cancer cells that most of humanity currently has are very low in enzymic activity. They're very low in biophotonic energy, and these cancer cells cannot, if you stop eating, they cannot thrive and kind of digest the energy inside the air. You see, they're so low on energy, they need food substances and stimulants in order to act. So starvation is actually a myth. Starvation is the same thing like when you kind of, when someone's addicted to heroin, you see, and if you take them off of heroin immediately, they can die. They can have a shock by the body. And it's the same thing as with our addiction to food. So the halo represents a lifestyle or a mode of living that represents energy conservation, semen retention, and for women, I'd like to call it blood retention or menstrual blood retention, because the less you bleed, the more you get to keep your iodine, the more you get to keep your magnesium. There's a lot of vital substances that are lost in menstrual blood, which we get into it later at the end of this class. Because even though women may not lose a lot of their energy in sex, but they still end up losing it if they bleed heavy every month, you see? So now when we depict a demon always, you can see, has horns, right? Where the halo is broken, as you can see. Almost damn near every demon you see in demonology has horns. Now, a demon is someone who halts the process of spiritualizing the avatar with destructive habits that force the vehicle to lose fuel and be trapped in the illusion, making matter hell, wasting away the vital fluids, plasmas, blood components that contain crystallized spiritual intentions emanating from the dark star on the next upgrade. The inevitable fate of crashing the mothership, which we call death. So living like what you would call a demon is one that doesn't have any respect for the spiritual processes within, you see? So this is why we spoke about in previous classes about addiction circumventing intelligence. And that the orgasm is so powerful, and you lose so much energy with that orgasm or with that ejaculation. You see that the body kind of stays at a plateau. And this is why religions, certain religions, when you listen to pastors, they will give the body a bad rap. They'll say, oh, the flesh is the enemy, or the flesh, do not be fooled by the flesh. But the flesh is not really alive, not like that. It's just an animate force that's reflecting to you your own understanding of self. The more you understand self, the more you put certain things into application, okay, like energy conservation, energy cultivation as well, and being in one with nature, okay, the cells start to rebuild and change to where they'll match more of your higher self. You see? So as you begin to conserve your blood components, right, the intestinal flora is actually the only thing that really builds nutrition. So the intestinal flora in the body can create any mineral needed without supplements or food. And this is mainly done through celibacy, to be honest. Celibacy is the most powerful thing, but not forced celibacy though. If you still like to have sex, then, you know, celibacy could not do too, you know, you probably can't do well on it. You see the monks that went celibate to conserve their energy, they just didn't have the desire anymore to have sex. So it's different. Like for me, I'll use this as an analogy. When I go out with some of my boys, you know, just to kind of go chill, you know, and they drink beer, you know, I'm not really, I don't really drink like that. But I don't drink because, oh, well, that's bad for me. I'm not going to do it. You know, that's alcohol. I just don't have the desire at all to do it because of the way it makes me feel, you see? And because I no longer have the desire for it, you see, I could just drop it. But if I really wanted to drink badly and yearn for it and do it just because it's bad, then that's a different kind of abstaining, you see? So if you're someone, this is why this path is mainly for elders, people that are completely saturated with the human experience. They done been there and done that, you see? And then you get to the point where these elders are like, look, sex is kind of overrated, you see? So that's a different type of mindset. But celibacy, you see, and along with the cultivation practices is how you could actually build up your intestinal flora with the sexual energy to where it could create any mineral or anything that you need. So an intestinal flora can create any mineral needed without supplements or food. However, this is a state of consciousness that can be attained only as we free our channels, our meridians, of obstructions. Our thinking causes obstructions. Our habits deplete nerve energy. Meditation, breath work, is energy work. Looping urine helps to conserve the mineral, enzymes, stem cells, etc. Fasting stops you from hindering the inevitable natural process of becoming a god. Accessing the calling as a brain again, helping the body to build and cultivate enough energy to perform the task at hand. You are already ascending. You just keep sticking yourself with a needle every day, delaying an imperative process within you. So, beloved, the process is already automatic. It's just we keep living in a certain mode where the body has to start over. Think about it. It's always trying to rebuild you back, but we don't have the self-knowledge or understand the proper lifestyle as what is actually taught in the Bible esoterically. They just encrypted it. The Bible is a coded book, an encrypted book. One that's supposed to teach you the lifestyle of the yogis, or the energy masters, the ones that are in one with God, you see? So, continuing, the goal of the alchemist in training, all right? See, this is also a shaman picture with the halo around the head. When learning the secrets of life, the neophyte realizes that the secrets are a secret, all right? And so when we look at the word secrete in the dictionary, secrete means, okay, of a cell, gland, or organ that produces, a produce or a discharge. It's like a substance. So it's a substance secreted in the body, you see? And notice if you look into the endocrine glands, each endocrine gland has an associated chakra with it. So the pineal gland, the cerebrum, secretes the fluid the upper brain, as we spoke about, the Most High, secretes the undifferentiated fluid. And by the time that undifferentiated fluid gets to the pineal and pituitary, the pineal electrifies the fluid, the pituitary magnetizes the fluid. The pineal represents the masculine, the pituitary represents the feminine, you see? So remember, the pineal gland is a gland that's activated mainly in darkness because it deals with the invisible realm, the cosmos, the intention from the invisible realm. The pituitary gland then is passed on that intention from its husband, and the pituitary gland deals with in-house, inside the body. This is where you get the term of the woman being in the house. It's a biochemical term in both man and woman, you see? Because the pituitary gland then passes on the secretion to all of the endocrine glands, you see? Because the endocrine system deals with the higher realities of man, you see? So when you're dealing with a secret, the biggest secrets are, or your intuition comes from secretions, you see? So a secret is actually a verb, okay? It's a living entity, a living intelligence that we hide away from ourselves through self-deception and living against the laws of life. It remains occult, hidden, because we keep it in the occult, never allowing the embryonic light body to grow in the physical body and become one. The secrets of life are not in a book or some mere poetically expressed phrase. The greatest secrets are revealed as a state of being. The quality and balance of secretions and an unobstructed internal river provides the neophyte with the direct guidance and intuition to navigate any plane of existence. The true teachers manifest through these substances as carriers of intention. And remember when I said that the true teacher, that I'm only a spokesperson, like an oracle. An oracle is someone or something or element that pushes you to go more towards your own intuition, you see? So this whole class is like an oracle that wants you to go more within, to realize that the true teachers are the ancestors living within your genetics, in the harmonics of the blood. But if you keep wasting away the energy, you will not build yourself energetically to start remembering certain truths that are important to you in your soul, in your advancement. All right, so substance. Now remember we said that the pineal gland and the endocrine gland, it secretes these substances, right? That's what they call it. Now, what is the definition of a substance, right? You notice substance, when you look at it, it's the most important or essential part of something, the real or essential meaning, right? And look at the synonyms. It's important, it has significance, power, right? We have also the subject matter of a text, speech, or work of art. But when we get to 3 here, notice here the quality of being important, valid, or significant, the quality of having a solid basis in reality or fact, or the quality of being dependable or stable. Wealth, possessions, so fortune, affluence, prosperity, money. So, family, if you do not learn the principalities of life in these modes of living, okay? This is why in this matrix that we live in, this game, it's like a coded game that we put ourselves in. You see, we chose to do this, all right? We've been put in many different matrices. And you notice in the game, when you listen to the music, okay, you watch Disney, you notice how Disney has certain encrypted subliminal messages of sex. Like they're trying to send these subliminal messages to get children to think about sex, right? and even movies, even selling products. Everything is about sex. Why is that? The greatest addiction that keeps us here in the physical plane is the addiction to lust. You see, we waste that spiritual energy. And because we don't learn how to cultivate it and conserve it and grow it, we never build substance or foundation in this reality. This is why, okay, in the Bible, it speaks about the wise and foolish builders. Okay? So the parable of the wise and foolish builders in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man who has built his house upon a sand, the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. All right, and I'm going to read this off here too. Luke chapter 6, verse 46 to 49. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not practice what I tell you? For everyone who comes to me and listens to my words and does them, I will show you what he is like. He is like a man building a house who dug and went down deep and laid a foundation upon the rock. And when a flood arose, the torrent broke against the house and could not shake or move it, because it had been securely built or founded on the rock. But he who merely hears and does not practice doing my words is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation, against which the torrent burst, and immediately it collapsed and fell, and breaking and ruin of that house was great. So notice, family, what this speaks about is, especially in this time, humanity is going to have a very difficult time right now, okay? Because there's a big shift that's going on the planet, especially with this high frequency energy hitting the planet, you know, and it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And the Earth is now transmutating into more of a solar planet than a lunar planet, you see? Because a lunar planet is mostly water. But a solar planet, there ain't going to be a lot of water. There may, in the years to come, we're going to have a water shortage as well. It's going to take time, because now you can see that as it gets hotter and hotter, it's going to be able to determine who's going to be the strongest, you see, to be able to withstand these higher fiery energies raining down on Earth. And if you can cultivate light, you could change the nature of your cells, you could withstand this energy and actually pass it on in your genetics. This is why that they say that only the stronger vessels will live on, you see? So in order for you to really build that foundation, you see, you have to understand the basis in the sexual energy, in the germ cell, in understanding that that's actually the real food, you see? So you have to raise your frequency. Because if you don't raise your frequency, you can live in fear. When they tell you, oh, there's a food and water shortage, there's war going on, every time you watch the news, anything that's mainstream about the coronavirus, it's always to keep you in fear. And that's what they're trying to do and program the human species. And right now we have the Agenda 2030, where they're trying to wipe out about 3.5 to 4 billion human beings off the planet. Type in UN Agenda 2030. You see, this is called strategic extinction. You see, so they're trying to weaponize the elements of nature. They're trying to poison the air, weaponize the air, weaponize the food, weaponize your own thoughts against you. You see? So to build this foundation, you see, raising your frequency isn't conserving your energy. You see, isn't eating a lighter diet, getting sunlight, being out in nature. Meditating is the principality and foundation to raising your frequency and going on a mental fast. What blocks you from raising your frequency is thinking, constantly thinking. Thinking blocks certain cosmic forces from entering into the body. So when you learn how to meditate and do the breathwork exercises, which we'll go over in session 6, and I'll send in the exercises and practices, and you will feel the energy coming into you. You see? So the way to actually raise your frequency is through, you could have, if you married, you could have tantric sex. They call it Kung Fu lovemaking. So Deborah, I could send you a book. It's called Kung Fu Lovemaking. Or being celibate. But to be celibate, you got to do energy cultivation. And here's a little trick, family. All right, Deborah, this is a big one when it comes to raising your frequency. Now, when you learn how to cultivate energy, there's 3 different positions to the sun. You see? There's sunrise, there's midday, and then there's sunset. The 3 horizons of Ra, as the Egyptians called it. If you can go outside in nature, when the sun first appears, you do your cultivation for 30 minutes to an hour. Your Qigong, your Kundalini yoga, whatever one you choose, right? You cultivate energy. Then midday is when the sun is at its highest peak. That's noontime. You cultivate energy again. And then sunset, before the sun leaves, you go and you meditate and you show up. What you're doing is you're harnessing the light code energies for the upgrade of your body, because that's the highest form of nutrition. Remember, the food that you eat comes from where? The sun. So you're tapping directly into the energy that gives you the food that you believe you need. You see? So on another level, the yogis that really cultivated and transcended beyond did 4 initial times of meditation. And the 4th one is midnight. The moon time energy, the stars. So you have sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight. Midnight is a little more difficult. You literally have to, because, let's be real. We got to get up and go to work, right? You got kids, you may have obligations. So it's easy if you're retired, if you're someone where your money is probably good, you don't have like a busy life, you know what I mean? So but I'm telling you, this is a hack here in the game, you see? Because understand, without the sun, you ain't got no life. There ain't no life here. If the sun was to explode now, it don't matter if you vegan or fruitarian or doing the keto diet. It no matter what diet you eat, you can freeze to death and you can die. Check it. So where your nutrition coming from? The sun. And then secondly, it's in the air. So the key way to raise your frequency is to interface with the sun, and for breathing exercises, because those are the 2 primordial energies. How you have noticed the 4 elements of nature: fire, air, water, earth, in that particular order. You see? So fire, the sun, light, intention, desire; air, prana, chi, the atmosphere from what you breathe in. You see? And then you have the denser substances like water and earth. But you see, the vast majority of people only thrive on dead plants and dead animals. You see? We only eat dead things, and therefore it changes the nature of the cell, and the cell does not really interface or pay homage to the more subtle forces. So to raise your frequency, the number one way is through solar meditation and celibacy. And a step down from celibacy is tantric sex. You see? Because that's how you actually get real nutrition. But you gotta learn how to breathe into your belly. You have to learn how to breathe into your lower dantian, but that's not until session 6. You see? So I don't want to precede the classes. So that's just kind of give you an idea, Deborah. There is a practical way to raise your frequency. And it's really simple, you know, but you got to be disciplined on it. You see? And you would be amazed at how easy it will be to manifest your desires when you go out there and just show up and show and pay homage and show gratitude to the sun. Show gratitude. It's not worshiping. It's showing gratitude to the subtle forces so they could come into your body. Because you know, a lot of people don't do that no more. A lot of people stay inside. That's why I believe the government intentionally put out mosquitoes and stuff in certain areas, you see. That's why, again, I believe the government implanted certain mosquitoes and insects to keep us wanting to be indoors, so we wouldn't even try to interface with these elements, with these nature elements out on Earth and out in the cosmos, you see? So you know, it's like I say, we chose to play this game, and from what I hear on the inside is that this is the most difficult matrix that we played out of all the matrices that we decided to play. But there have been a lot of yogis and people that did transcend and build their soul bodies. So just some more references on the Bible when, you know, here in Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 9, right? The scripture, we talk about the land of milk and honey, and you see here, and he has brought us into this place and has given us this land, even a land that flows with milk and honey. So this scripture refers to the secretions. Now, when we talk about the land of milk and honey, it refers to the secretions of the pineal and pituitary glands. The pineal secretes a gold honey-like substance, and the pituitary secretes a milky white-like substance. You see? And continuing, even the Jordan River is symbolic of the cerebral spinal fluid. You see, it's not the Jordan River out there in Israel, and that's not what they were talking about. It's an encrypted code. You see, and this code is about moving the spiritual energy in the fluids and spiritualizing the human body. You see, because you cannot disconnect matter from spirit, because matter is spirit. It's the same thing. It's just spirit or the subtle energies condensed to a slower vibration. It's like saying ice is not air, steam or ice is not water. It's just the same energy, but it's a different vibrational frequency of that energy. So we represent frozen aspects of frozen, like a dense energy. This is why the police, the police, which are run by occultists, the first thing they will tell young men is freeze, don't move. That's an occult term, you see? The ones that orchestrate or running the matrix, because we wanted the game to be difficult. It's our choice, by the way. We wanted the game. It's like, you know, you about to pick an avatar in a game. We actually chose for this game to be difficult. So the whole thing about the Caucasians and the white man and the reptilians, they actually doing what they programmed to do. It's kind of weird, you know? So when the police say freeze, it's an occult term because they want to keep us frozen, in a dense form. And one of the number one ways to keep you dense, or should I say the few ways, is to eating animals, okay? If you eat meat every day, that keeps you really dense. Secondly is wasting this and exhausting the sexual energy. And it's funny because if you eat meat, or how it pumped up with so much hormones and stuff like that, this new age, this meat in this day and age, you more inclined to actually have lustful thoughts, you know? So it kind of go hand in hand. That's why the government subsidized meat. That's why they have meat. Why do you think the government subsidized alcohol and made alcohol cool? You know, everywhere we go, oh, you just go drink alcohol. That's how we have fun. You see, once again, the people around you. I don't know if you ever watched Westworld, okay? Westworld is this like simulated reality where you go and you around like this artificial intelligence, like this fake world, right? And everyone, the robots, the artificial intelligence, all of them are like under this script. You see, they can't think outside of the script. They only could basically, you know, go within this, react based on how they've been programmed. So there's a saying that to every one person that has a cultivated soul or soul, there's 5,000 other people that are not in one with their soul, or they're soulless. So there's certain human beings that can't even comprehend some of this stuff we talking about, or they don't even see, like they could sit right next to me and they may, you know, nod their head and agree and stuff, but they cannot synthesize it into a practicality to actually transform and change their life. There are certain people in the humans throughout humanity, this whole thing about we all one human, you know, we all black, we all white, you know, everyone trying to group us up into black, that's bullshit. You ain't my boy because you fucking black. No, that's bullshit. That's a very superficial way of looking at it, because DNA knows no color. You see? So there's certain human beings in the in humanity that are more like artificial intelligence. It's kind of weird, you see? But the Matrix, there are only a few source players of people that actually have a cultivated soul that could actually start to decode the game, and you could transcend beyond it. But the excess, or you ever watch a movie and they want to hire doubles, right? Where the doubles or the extras in the movie, they're not really like in the movie, but they're there to make the movie look more real. You know what I mean? Like, so they're not really characters in the movie, if you know what I mean. But like, if we really looking at two actors that are important role players in the movie, but the extras in the back to give us more of that real feeling, okay? But in the movie, there's only a certain amount of people that actually are important to the story. So within the whole parameters of the human species, there's only a small amount of source players that actually play in the game, and there's certain other people that are just extras that there to convince you that it's fucking real. Check. All right. We'll get into that another time. So Jordan River, the cerebral spinal fluid, he went down, this is 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 14. So he went down and dipped himself 7 times into the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh, check it family, his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. So what they talking about? They talking about that, again, that spinal fluid, what's secreted from your upper brain, when you contain it and conserve it. You see, when you learn to eat a lighter diet, when you raise your frequency, the body doesn't waste the minerals that it produced. You see? So, you know, again, it's talking about a biochemical process, something that the body creates. And what better way to hide the secret is to put it deeply within you, you know? Yeah, man. Thanks, baby. So, got my queen in here today. You know, she already took the, you know, seen some of these classes, but she came in, so I really appreciate that. So we have the goal of the alchemist. So check it. The goal of the alchemist, the internal spark, which is extraterrestrial to this earthly realm. So you, the spark, the one playing the game, you see, you're extraterrestrial to this matrix. Now the animals are also just an animation, hence animal animation. And then you got animal man, certain human beings. You got, so this is why what I teach, and when you go deep into the meta history, it's based in the genetics, okay? Not all human beings are the same. Not all of us are the same, man. It ain't like that. You see, you have God man, then you have animal man, and then you have mankind, kind of like a man, but not really a man, more like an artificial intelligence, one that responds to whatever the, what's the word I'm looking for? The beings that are managing and operating the matrix that are outside of the matrix, you see? They do have the extras and doubles of human beings that are not necessarily players in the game, like I said, but they're there to convince you, you see? And they're all around you. They're all around you, you see? But it's why I went, hey, man, I don't want you to look weird at people after this class, you know? That's kind of dropping some heavy shit. But anyway, so the goal of the alchemist, the internal spark, which is extraterrestrial to this earthly realm, is to build such a strong foundation so as to not be swept by the tide of temptation to where the river is dammed and the substances are lost. Lost substances, okay, also mean lost intuition. All right? Say it again, family. I can say it again. Lost substances also mean lost intuition, lost geniosity, and a loss of the true self and its purpose in matter. No foundation and a constant breaking of the loop descends the spark playing the game into limbo, not knowing his or her true being anymore. The greatest secret in life is our true original state of being embodied in a suitable avatar ship vessel. You see? All right, Deborah, I see. My friend told me about an in-law's ex-wife. This woman has webbed fingers and feet and undeveloped gills behind her ears. What is going on with her genetics? Well, you know, there's some people that got more reptilian, you know? You have, even there's certain Caucasians that have Rh negative blood, that Neanderthal type blood. And then there's also West Africans that have more of a reptilian nature and blood. That's why, you know, they kind of different and they're more barbaric because they eat meat, they eat any damn thing, anything they can get their hands on. So that's why I was telling people it ain't that simple where you class, oh, well, this is a Caucasian, this is a black man. It's not that simple, you see? And you could go to Ancestry.com all you want. It ain't like, it don't work like that. It's really what reveals to you what your genetics is, you see, is in your meditation, in your breath work, and you know, and in the practices, okay? And you wake up that intuition in you. Only you could kind of tell yourself that, you know? So yeah, Deborah, I don't know exactly what's going on with her, but it ain't like I say, that, oh, we are all one. That's just not true. That's just another program of the matrix, actually. You see? So even the whole thing about we all black, you know, and we're melanin and all that. No, it ain't. Some black people are not, they ain't even source players like that. So, once again, the goal of the alchemist, the internal spark, which is extraterrestrial to this earthly realm, once again, is to thaw out, all right, is to thaw out, to move from ice to a liquid and back to a gas, what the great Malachi Z. York said. There's a highly spiritual being, there are highly spiritual beings that have avatars that are more gaseous and have no true form. Only the form they project out that they want others to see. They are energy masters that can manipulate matter at will through thousands of years of practice and not dying. Their avatar is not dense and more of a protoplasmic nature. a form that can materialize, can be materialized and rematerialized at will. Okay? So what am I saying? Well, what I talking about there? Now, in the first class, we talked about immortal yogis and humans, right? Which is already, boom, far-fetched beyond what the Matrix ever wants to tell you, you see? But these are people that figured out the game, but they wanna kind of linger around, and what they do is these yogis, they appear to certain disciples, and you hear stories about them in the Himalayan mountains, and some yogis only talk to probably one to two disciples every 10 years, you see? And what happens is, you see, the disciples then go out and they introduce the cultivation practices to humanity, just like Kriya Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, you see? So I see someone, Namin. So what about more melanin, more sunlight theory? No, that's true, you see, but you see, you have certain Black people that try to say that all Caucasians, see, Caucasians have a melanoid, right? Now, when you put OID on the end of anything, oid means to be like how you have humanoid, like a human, but, you know, not really a human, humanoid. Caucasians have melanoid. But if you read the book, The Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Rett, who was a white man, when he started on a mono fruit diet and went outside and cultivated light, just went out, got sunlight, you know, and he got more on a natural diet, he reactivated and awakened his melanin within. You see that book off the chain there, because it lets you know. That's why it's telling certain brothers here in Bahamas, you cannot just write off and say white people can't transcend or anything like that, because they may have a melanin in them and it may be a little bit more inactive. They may have to do more work, but they could reactivate it. All beings have melanin, you see? Or should I say, you know, the source players that could kind of understand the game. And the melanin is when you have melanin, melanin is like an intelligence, you see? And it's a living intelligence that takes in dark matter energy from the cosmos, from the sun, from the dark star, and it can synthesize it into a discernible instruction to then lead the genetics into the next evolutionary, or should we say, to the transcendent path, you see? So melanin isn't just the pigmentation of the skin, but it's an actual cosmic intelligence. So, constituents of the blood, sealing the loop, we're gonna go over the blood plasma, P, plasma energy excretion, sperm, cerebral spinal fluid, menstrual blood, and then the vital minerals, vitamins, and enzymes lost through a consistent daily cooked food diet as well. But we already broke that down in session 3. So I'm gonna be real with y'all. I know that here in the Matrix, it seems like we have like these top players like doctors, you know, they put these doctors there to kind of convince you. And this is the thing. The thing is to convince you, to fill in the blanks, you see? That's really what it's all about. They want to fill in the blanks and they want you to digest that knowledge and to make it become true. Because guess what? Even though it's fake knowledge, because you are energy source from the one, from the absolute, from God, you can make lies real. This is why the Matrix talks about, remember the batteries? Remember in the movie that their real bodies was hooked up to like this spiritual like technology, right? But they had another avatar playing in another game. That was the Matrix. And when he woke them up, they was in this room hooked up to some shit. That's kind of real, you know? Like you do have a real essence, a part of you that's almost like hooked up. They call it like the nadis, you know, because the nadis are like these things that tether you, or like these tentacles tethering you to like your higher self, right? And it's like your real body and the real you is projecting out onto this world. So this body is a projection, right? The real you is projecting out, and at the end of that projection is you navigating this avatar in first person view. You see? So here, we do not know. Labels are not important. So what I'm saying to you is that you came here with everything you need. You are everything. That's the funny. You are everything and nothing at the same time. So the whole thing about you need this 106 minerals. You need this, you need that. But guess what? Like what I can say here. Let's be real. All these doctors, herbalists, and so-called professionals tell you that the body needs this amount of minerals, protein, vitamins, etc. But here's the catch. There are substances that the body needs that are completely unidentified and have not been discovered or labeled by anyone. And the fact of the matter is, within semen, urine, and mother's milk for an infant are valuable substances and minerals that we don't even know exist. And all three of these life food fluids are products of the blood. The body manufactures what it needs. Semen retention, for men mainly, right? Because, women, unless you were, a squirter, I guess, but. And urine looping with intermittent fasting will fix any deficiency of the body that the body has. We don't even need to know the name of these substances. The body has you covered. So before we're gonna talk about semen, right? Now, the semen is the astral liquid of man. In the semen is the astral light. The semen is the key of all powers and the key to all empires. The beings who adore each other live in the region of the light. The souls who become drunk with the chalice of lust, and who after having become drunk spill the cup, my cup runneth over, live in the region of darkness. These souls are consumed in the fire of their own lust. White magicians never spill the semen. Black magicians always spill the semen. White magicians make the igneous serpent of the magical powers rise through the medulla channel. Black magicians make the snake descend toward the atomic infernos of man. Gods and demons live in eternal struggle. The gods defend the doctrine of chastity. The demons hate chastity. That's when you, in a marriage, a union with one person, you have a contract, you know what I mean? Or you celibate, you see? The root of conflict between gods and demons is in sex. And look, they look like little fractals of light, because that's what they are. The sexual force in the hands of white magicians and black magicians is a tremendous weapon. Thought draws the sexual fluid into the spinal column to deposit it in its respective bursa. With the fatal spilling of this fluid, billions of solar atoms are lost. So these, beloved, these are solar atoms, light atoms, okay? The movement of sexual contraction that follows the spilling of the semen gathers from the atomic infernos of man, billions of satanic atoms which replace the lost solar atoms. In this way, we form the devil within us. When we refrain from the sexual impulse, then the marvelous fluid returns to the astral body, multiplying its ineffable splendors. In this way, we form Christ within us. Thus, with sexual energy, we can form within ourselves Christ or the devil. Man loses 6 or 7 million spermatozoa in a seminal ejaculation. However, only one infinitesimal spermatozoon is needed to engender a child. It is absurd to spill 6 or 7 million spermatozoa when only one is needed to create. One single spermatozoon escapes easily from the sexual glands without the need to spill the semen. So Pythagorean taught that there was a direct connection between the semen and the brain, and that loss of semen weakens the brain while its conservation improves the nutrition in the brain. Since the substances thus conserved act as brain nutrients, you hear that? Brain nutrients. So lust could drive niggas crazy if they lose that constantly. That's a part of mental insanity too. The father of medicine, Hippocrates, wrote about its effect on the spinal cord. Aristotle wrote about semen being the most important component of our food. And the problem is, brothers, that it is very difficult to get that substances from something else because it's so specialized by your own DNA and by the body. It's just like urine. Urine has stuff in it that's so specialized. And the body always constantly trying to create it. So when you cultivate energy from the sun and the air, you're giving the body energy to create the stuff anyway. So this is a list of the benefits of semen retention. More energy, less depressed, you happier, increased social skills, highly motivated to success, increased fat loss, deeper voice, improved skin, improved body, brighter eyes. I mean, you could go on and on, right? Control aggression, feelings of power, and another thing, brothers, you also feel a higher intensity of love. If you're in a relationship and you hold in your light, your solar atoms, you can feel a higher frequency of love and appreciation towards the other sex. You will never feel that true signal of true love as a man. You don't truly experiment or have respect for your sexual energy. There's no way you could ever go into sex a bunch of different gals and stuff like that and feel like you could honor woman and feel like you could honor life. It's impossible. There's no way. So practical exercises, exercises to become a multi-orgasmic man. This is a pretty good book. Learn to control and transmute your sexual energy to transform your sex life, health, and mind. Semen retention is practiced through two ways: celibacy, or if you're not ready for that, tantric sex. Tantric sex is the art of sexual pleasure without ejaculation. However, learning to have an orgasm as a man, in the book, The Multi-Orgasmic Man, are exercises that guide the neophyte in the art of withholding ejaculation in sex. So it is a breathwork exercise that I'm perfecting called testicle breathing or embryonic breathing, where you actually learn how to breathe deep into your testicle area. You see, and you charge it up and you could raise the energy up. Okay, so you could look up that book and just type in testicle breathing. And we get more into that breath work at the end with practical exercises. So one phase of constituents of the blood sealing the loop is holding in the sperm, the cerebral spinal fluid. All right, seal the loop with celibacy or tantric sex. Also, energy must be transmutated with qigong and microcosmic orbit meditation. Yoga asanas must also be applied. It does help. See, yoga asanas are watered down in its meaning because asanas are meant to prepare you for meditation. You see, that's what the asanas are body postures. If you see those normal like body postures in yoga, it helps with lymphatic flow, blood flow, and it gets the body flowing. But asanas, to the monks and energy masters, was only a tool to prepare you for deep meditation. So the problem is when people that teach yoga, they don't really connect all this together and give you the full picture of it, you see? So, the body postures in yoga, again, are meant to prepare you to get to higher and higher degrees of meditation. So next on the list is one of I'd like to say the most occulted and hidden truths is the truth of the fact that you leak out blood. It is not urine. You know, that's a bullshit word. It's just like conspiracy theory, a CIA word. You know, the CIA created that phrase, conspiracy theory, to dismiss people, you know, to just label them. And urine, unfortunately, is just like a false label. It is, because every time you pee, you're bleeding. You're losing blood, okay? Every time you pee. And you could use that blood to rebuild your body. But again, there's a certain way to boost the benefits of that blood plasma that you leak out, okay? And it cures everything. It can cure Alzheimer's. It cures, I know people that, you hear stories of people on their deathbed and urine pulled them away from their deathbed when they started drinking their urine. Almost on their last breath, they gasping for breath, can't even breathe, so blocked out. And urine pulled them away from death. There's countless peer-reviewed studies. It's proven. It's proven. It's not pseudoscience. That's the Matrix saying that. Okay? It's not pseudoscience. And when you type this shit in Google, the first thing they say is urine therapy is toxic. You introduce bacteria into the body and all this shit. It's not true. Okay? So P, an acronym that we in the underground created, is plasma energy excretion. Urine is filtered blood. In the medical industry, it's known as plasma ultrafiltrate. That's what they call it. Plasma ultrafiltrate. And you know, notice ultrafiltrate, meaning it's the most filtered and processed fluid in the body. When a blood sample is drawn from your blood and put in a test tube, the red blood cells sink down to the bottom. The yellow fluid sitting on top is your urine, your filtered blood plasma. This is a book paraphrased from the book, The Human Body's Owner's Workshop Manual by Dave Murphy. Dave Murphy, just type him on YouTube. He did a 30-day urine fast and he felt great. And he helped people all around the world with this, you see? So, you see, and they sell blood plasma in the pharmaceutical industry. You could donate blood plasma, but you leak you leak yours out every day. So, once again, when you draw blood into a test tube and let it sit, the red part settles at the bottom, and at the top is the yellow fluid, the blood plasma. Beloved, this is what urine is. It is filtered blood plasma. Urine is cleaner than your blood. Now, pause there. Urine is a derivative of your blood. The blood circulating in you is dirtier than urine because the liver filters the blood and the excess filtered blood is passed on to the kidneys, then to the bladder. So urine is cleaner than your blood as it is filtered by the liver and passed on to the kidneys. The kidneys, again, do not filter. The kidneys do not filter. I have to say it like that because that's what everybody is saying. They don't filter. The kidneys regulate the constituents of the blood, okay? The kidneys allow us to overeat and overdrink. Any excess water, mineral, enzymes, hormones, stem cells that are produced in the blood are sent to the kidneys. We eat and drink too much, causing the body to overproduce substances to break down and process these materials. After the substances are produced, it cannot stay in the blood to maintain a constant balance. Too much of anything, whether good or bad, recirculating can cause imbalance. So the body sends the excess good stuff created to the bladder to be stored. We are inducing the avatar to constantly leak out blood plasma, losing mineral and essential elements that may not have been needed at the time. But trust me, we are not designed to leak out blood plasma several times a day. The only reason you leak out all that blood plasma is because you You eat 3 times a day, and you have to then dose yourself with water, with 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. And then what happens? The body has to create antibodies, create things to neutralize the poisons, and then then the excess stuff that it created, it then has to store it. But what happens? The bladder can only hold so much. You see? So it starts to overflow and leak out. So for anyone that says, well, if urine is so good, why does the body excrete it out? The body does not excrete it out. The body stores it. But the bladder is like a cup or a glass, and it's like it only can hold so much. It's like this. If you have a herbal tea, moringa tea, or whatever it is, and you keep pouring it into the glass, eventually it can overflow. Now, the part that overflows, that herbal tea that overflows out the glass, is that toxic? Is that a waste? Or is it still useful? Where the glass just can't hold that much. So we induce the avatar to overproduce so many substances that are vital to its repair, and it wants to keep it. It does, but it does not have the storage facility to keep it. And that's a problem. So it has to always constantly restart from scratch. Oh, well, I leaked out more magnesium, more that stuff, so have to start from scratch. Over and over and over, you see? So the function of the kidneys is to keep the various elements in your blood balanced. The kidneys do not filter out important elements in the blood because those elements in themselves are toxic or poisonous or bad for the body. It doesn't filter it. It doesn't excrete it out or pass it on, right? Because it's toxic or poisonous or bad for the body, but simply because the body did not need that particular concentration of that element at the time it was excreted. And medical researchers have discovered that many of the elements of the blood that are found in urine have enormous medicinal value, and when they are reintroduced into the body, they boost the body's immune defenses and stimulate healing in a way that nothing else does. You see that? Stimulate healing in a way that nothing else does. And here is, I'm going to send this link in the group. This is a link with all of the medical doctors all around the world that use urine, okay? The medicinal properties of urine and the peer-reviewed studies, okay? So this is from a book, Colloidal Biology, David Jubb. And by the way, David Jubb lived on his urine for damn near years, man. He is a man, if you type in his name in Wikipedia, you will see a quote, "I live mainly on my urine," because he went on the process of building his body to the point where the intestinal flora was creating its own nutrition, you see? But he went through stages. It wasn't just overnight. I think it was a 10-year process for him, because he went from vegan to raw vegan, then fruitarian, and then to liquiditarian, but it was much quicker because he conserved his blood plasma. So if you want to have a good understanding of the body in urine, I suggest that you order his books, David Jubb, okay? Because he's talking from experience. So this is what Jubb says. He has also a lab. He's also a scientist. Fasting and recycling one's own urine, as in urine therapy, creates an environment so cells are able to transmutate one element into another and tap into zero-point energetics. Notice he says zero-point energetics. That's chi energy, the energy that runs the body. Okay? And have greater oxygen and carbon content that allow for an absorption of glucose and amino acid more readily. Components within the blood and urine change during disease. Essential elements can have been filtered out by the kidneys without having reached their intended destination in the body. These nutrients drawn in that would ordinarily be filtered out can reach the furthest reaches in the body where the blood has been unable to penetrate. As the liver was other than able to do its job because of cholesterol stones in the bile bladder, bile leaks into the blood instead of its intended destination. In urine therapy, bile and liver enzymes are reused rather than having been wasted. Reabsorbed nutrient helps digestion of fat, protein, and carbohydrate. They help keep the intestinal tract clean, oxygenate the blood, and much, much more. This is him still. Urea is converted into glutamine from ammonia in the intestinal tract through bacterial action. Glutamine has a marked effect on helping heal ulcers and in the maintenance of tissue like the brain, immune cells, and small intestine. The skin and connective tissue is moistened and its condition is regulated through the urea and other hydrotropic element in urine therapy. Urine and the urea it contains helps dissolve fat. Urine helps detach waste and draws water into the intestine, accelerates metabolism, removes surplus sugar from the blood, clears toxin from the cell, and helps raise albumin. Urine lowers the osmotic pressure in the lymph, causes the vessels to open. As lymph vessels open, excess amino acid is eliminated from body tissue. Urine contains ingredients that help clear tumors, such as urea, uric acid, 3-methylglyoxal, DHAE, H11, directin, anti-neoplastin, interferon, and interleukin-1. Thyroid, adrenal, and sex hormone is reabsorbed as they are other than protein complexes. Implant with fresh urine, douching and washing with urine helps the body reabsorb large protein like antibodies, immunoglobulin, heptoglobulin, albumin, and transferrin. In urine therapy, there is also reabsorption of enzymes, amino acid, vitamin, cell salt, mineral, and urea. It has a great bactericidal and virucidal effect and has natural diuretic action. The enzyme urocanase causes vasodilation and effect a lot like nitroglycerin. So we talk about how it cleans out, it helps the balance between good bacteria and bad bacteria. You see, cleaning out certain infections. Urine therapy helps bring sulfur and phosphorus in that help bind cells more together, yet have a nice elasticity and fluidness. Urine therapy can halt the progress of parasites and eliminate them wherever they are in the body. Urine is a vasodilator and a diuretic, so it helps mobilize lymph, and lymph can help bring compounds in that eco-sterilize the terrain free of dysbiotic colloids of life. Anti-neoplastic compounds in the urine help keep connective tissue vital. Otherwise, connective tissue disease can have occurred of mature cells that became seeded by colloids of life that were fermentative. Parasites and larvae burrow through cell wall, wreaking havoc. The body restricts infected cells by benign growths of fibrous membrane. Urine therapy helps wash away extraneous tissue. Urine brings in amniotic alkaline element that helps restore liver function. Anyone with problems with liver, even if the liver on its last leg, I talk about that person dying, okay? Urine will help. But you see, the thing is now, there is a book that I want all of you to order after this. It's important because it teaches you how to use it for proper application, all right? There's a way to boost the benefits of urine. There's certain things like if you ingest table salt, you know what I mean? Certain things you eat ruins the quality of it. Now, don't get me wrong. You could still, even if you eat lobster and shrimp, you can still drink your urine and it will clean it out. But the quality of it will not be the same compared to a natural diet, you know, where you're even hydrated and the body's in a fasted state. Because remember, when the body's in a fasted state, there's substances that are produced to rebuild tissue, okay? To get rid of cancer cells. And when that body's in a fasted state, along with the eating live foods, this increases the beneficial properties inside the plasma, okay? And that type of urine is way more powerful and nutritious than fruit. And you probably ain't gonna hear a lot of people say that urine is more powerful than fruits, because it is. And I have friends that travel all around the world that help heal people from chronic diseases. And you know what he told me the other day? He said when he puts them on a fruitarian diet, and if they don't drink the urine, if he can't get them to drink urine like in lupus, he's not even confident that he can help them. I want you to think about that. He ain't even as confident without them conserving that blood plasma. Because what fruit can do in years, urine can do in months. That's how powerful this thing is. All produced by your body. And I can't sell it to you. It's all from you. So I'll talk about the name of the book after class. So urine brings the alkaline element and helps restore liver function with more in and up energy. Cationic acidic energy is spinning down and out. Urine therapy helps increase the oxygen content of the blood. It helps unstick platelets and create better flow. It helps clear mucus. It dissolves fat and allows cell membranes to become more insulin sensitive. This helps greatly with blood sugar regulation because urine is composed of structured water. It helps improve all enzyme activity in the body. And hydrogen peroxide is a rich constituent of blood and urine. Aerobic cells are covered in the enzyme catalase that helps to be the most abundant enzyme in the body. As hydrogen peroxide contacts with catalase, it is transformed into water and a single atom of oxygen. Oxygen revitalizes the cell, yet clears away anaerobic parasitic colloids of life. 40 to 50 drops of food-grade hydrogen peroxide is produced by our T cells that keep pathogenic colloids of life at bay every day. This is from another book, Nasal Drinking. And he says, your own elixir or urine is the best substance to open the pathways and channels located behind the nose and nasal cavity, as it is comprised of vital vitamins, minerals, and enzymes that your own body can no longer contain. Therefore, it is completely personal and it is in accordance with you. It has just been produced by you, and anything you have ingested previously that may have degenerative substances will not only be harmless, but your body will have produced an antidote precisely for you. Indeed. So, even the early stages of mother's milk is urine. It's called colostrum. The amniotic fluid, when you are embryo in the womb, the amniotic fluid that helps the egg grow from an embryo into an infant, a baby, is urine. It's mainly urine, the amniotic fluid, that you lived on in the body. And when you come out the body, you need it for the early weeks too, because it's your mother's urine. Colostrum, they call colostrum liquid gold for the infant. It's urine. Colostrum is the milk produced in your breast from about 16 weeks of pregnancy until around the 3rd day after your baby's birth. Some moms notice drops leaking from their breasts in the weeks before the birth. Others don't. Rest assured that your breasts are producing colostrum in preparation for the baby's arrival. Whether you see it or not leaking certainly does not mean that you won't have a plentiful milk supply. Your body continually produces colostrum, so don't worry that leaking will lessen the baby's supply. Colostrum is a thick, sticky fluid. Although it may also be white or even translucent, it is most often a buttery yellow. Hello. Regardless of the color, colostrum is so precious that lactation experts fondly call it liquid gold. Your first milk is a natural probiotic and laxative. It will help the baby get rid of the tarry black meconium that has built up in his bowels during the time in the womb. Pooing early and often lessens the baby's risk of newborn jaundice, and here's why. Babies are born with extra blood cells. These cells are the body's oxygen carriers. In order to ensure that the baby's brain gets enough life-giving oxygen throughout the birth process, his body produces extra red blood cells right before birth. Call this Mother Nature's insurance policy. As soon as he is born, though he no longer needs those extra blood cells, his liver breaks them down into a waste product called bilirubin, which is excreted through the stools. If the baby breastfeeds early and often after birth, the laxative properties of colostrum will help him flush out the bilirubin. If he doesn't feed well, for whatever reason, the bilirubin is reabsorbed from the bowels and builds up in the body. This stresses his immature liver. If the bilirubin builds up to higher than normal levels, the baby may need phototherapy, special lights that break down the bilirubin at home or in hospital. See? It's interesting. So, in the Guinness Book of World Records, it's this guy here, a Chinese soldier named Poon Lim, that had to live on a life raft for 5 months after he was in the war. And I think a soldier and his ship got torpedoed. I think everyone else died, and this is him. He had to live basically on a life raft for 5 months. Now, up to this day, he's in the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest living soldier out to sea, right? So a 24-year-old Chinese man in the Second World War named Poon Lim was on a ship that was torpedoed. He ended up alone on an open life raft on the South Atlantic Ocean. He drifted for more than 4 months, only looping his urine. His journey is the longest known survival at sea. When he was found, he said he felt strong and well during his long drift. He is still in the Guinness World Book of Records, but they intentionally left out the part of him looping his own urine to keep the secret away from humanity, for the fact that urine provides not only good hydration, but also good nutrition. When they found him too, he felt very strong, you see, as we said. So, in the older accounts of the story, he was on his urine. That kept him alive for that long time. This is from a brother here. Y'all may follow him on Facebook. This is Chris M. Manley. He's a good friend of mine. This is what he says. Chris actually went from March 2016 to October 2016 on only urine. Okay, and this man now is more breatharian. He doesn't even eat or drink, and he does CrossFit. He could mountain climb. He's very physical, but he don't even need to eat or drink. He just lives more on the forces now. He does his breath work too, But what he tells you, what he teaches is that urine bridged the gap to his food freedom. And this is what he says here. Bladder is a big bag which holds the excess blood, living minerals, living DNA, living stem cells, living everything else your body is made of. Not the waste or resultant use of the word toxins, which those who stand to lose a lot of money once this knowledge about blood life spreads. The bladder, mine, has held probably up to 30 ounces of fluid at one time or another. And when not drinking water, will hold the excess for days or weeks depending. If the urine was filled with toxins, plain and simple, there would be no bladder to hold them, as the toxins would seep back into the blood. The kidneys, if filtering, is sending toxins out the underarms, ass, and breath. Otherwise, the kidney is an allocator, allocating the precise amount of every ingredient you are made of to every of the trillions of live cells in your body. At the split second, the already filtered liver blood passes through it. No toxins exit in urine, only the organic portion that the synthetic poison is made with. I lived 7 months on almost nothing but urine, March to October 2016. Oh, wow. I mean, your son was under the light when he was born. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, man. It's crazy. But glad he all right. You know, he's okay. Man. So, once again, P, plasma energy excretion. If you start to look at longevity reports, you will find reports of people living hundreds of years, even thousands. The yogis up in the mountains, some of them have lived 1,500 years, and the main way they are doing it is urine therapy. From a book, article, Urine Distilled Waters in the Pineal Gland. I tell you it deep. Boy, when we help, because we helped to create this matrix, by the way, you just don't remember, okay? And it's a game. So it makes sense, right? That they programmed us to look at it at these things as toxic and wasted. But it's so close to home that you really wouldn't think that, you know, you would. So the whole goal of wiping your memory and coming here was to give you a challenge to search, like you because you're already perfect. And being perfect all the time is a problem. Because then it's like, you know, it gets boring, like it's no like purpose. So, you know, you wipe your memory in this matrix game, cosmic game, to play it. And, you know, again, like I said earlier, you know, if you remembered everything when you came, you would have figured out this puzzle in one day, and it wouldn't have made, you would have transcended so quickly. So when all else transcend, you know what happens is you get back with the progenitors, the ones that managing these matrices and these planetary systems, and then they're already starting to build and perfect even more difficult ones, you see? So it's you know, life is kind of funny, man. You know, it's really funny. Really, it's got a sense of humor. So again, urine is also good to know about in you know, in times of like war as well, when there's a food and water shortage, you see? Because understand, self-knowledge is the #1 key knowledge for times of food and water shortage. Water shortage becomes non-existent when you understand the occult knowledge of urine and how it hydrates even better than bottled water. It has kept people alive in many disasters and wars in times of water shortage. Food shortage, you can prepare yourself for this, of course, by storing food. However, the most powerful way to prepare is changing the mind of the cells. Oxygen-starved cells are cancer cells, which everybody you know has cancer cells, right? Are energy-starved and are cells that crave sugar, starch, food substances to produce energy. Yet, healthy oxygen-rich cells do not have cravings. A body that can extract more from the air, the ethers, helps with even sustaining your food supply because you will naturally eat less. So again, the reason we die from starvation is because we terraformed and changed the mind of the cells, or changed the blood and the terrain to be acidic, to where the cell now has to modify itself and adapt to survive to that oxygen depletion. And these cancer cells cannot thrive on the aerial elements or on solar light alone. They need stimulants. So people that have mainly animal cells and cancer cells, which are mostly all of us, most of us, besides a few yogis and, you know, that teaching this stuff, right? We die from starvation if we don't eat. But the gods, one thing that was given to us in the Matrix is the power of adaptability. It's a power, beloved. Get this. Let me share a deeper secret with you when we cracking the codes of this game here. Remember, I said in the last class, I think, that you want to break the DNA, the code of the DNA complex from the inside out. Now, the reason that took place when they altered our DNA, okay, they tell you the Anunnaki or whoever did it, our DNA was altered. and it locked us in, and it gave it, we were locked down. It was a light code lockdown to be imprisoned through incarnation in this matrix. Okay, where we're just an energy source to the demiurge, to the entity that kind of is the fake god, the one that feeding off this realm. Okay, you could look up demiurge, right? So when you look at an immortal yogi, when you look at Babaji, when you look at, and Namin, I know you from India, you know, and when you look at these, the Taoists talk about immortals. What is the difference from the yogi and the average human being? Okay. The yogi has perfected himself, his mind, or built his connection to where he can go on a mental fast, right? Where he doesn't have excessive or overthinking. You see, he has the discipline, right? But yogis go on this mental fast. It's not a physical fast is easy, but a mental fast is when you do not dwell in an idea or dwell in a thought. It's much more difficult because thinking is what blocks out light from coming into the channels. You actually hear, because of the English language and thinking, that's a program. You see, the less you know, again, the mind always needs something to feed on, but you allowing for the light to come in. Now, what I'm saying is, with these solar cultivation practices, where a yogi would be, let's say, up on a mountain and he's cultivating for, you know, at the essential positions of the sun, right? Sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight. Okay? Important times. And he does this for years, if not hundreds of years, and some thousands. It gets to the point where they have cultivated so much energy running along their channels and cultivated other subtle soul bodies as well, where they can change the DNA at will from the inside out. The DNA can adapt from their intention. But with us, our DNA adapts to the planetary system. The adaptability power that we have, our DNA adapts to, like an Eskimo adapting in the ice up there in you know, Alaska, you adapt here in the tropic, you know, and so most human beings, our DNA is adapting from the outside in. You see? And if our genetic structure is adapting from the outside in, our cells are matching more of the matrix here. But when you cultivate energy, the sexual energy, you build on that light. You see? There's more energy channels. There's more veins that are created. It's a physical thing that takes place. And I'm going to show proof of what I'm saying after this, because I'm going to use Elatom Elamine as proof, because he shows where there's new veins that grew. He was celibate for 20 years and did not eat and drink. Well, he eats and drinks, but not like to survive, just sometimes for entertainment, I guess, you know. But he was celibate for 20 years. And he started to grow new energy channels and veins in the body. So what am I saying? The body starts to make space for more light and creates veins and channels to hold more of that light and that cosmic energy. And you need that energy to make to transcend and solve the game. You see? So one side is from the inside out. You change the cellular archives and the avatar, and you could change and manipulate matter at will. The other side is where matter manipulates you and keeps you trapped. You see? So the whole purposes of the cultivation is to not allow the thinking, the subscribed thinking that you were given in this realm, to block out the light. Because the reason you eat is because you think you need to eat. The reason so it's just all of these come from thoughts. But you are not your mind, and you are not your body. All right? So just you know, to provoke you, you know, it's thought provoking. All right, this is me. To make matters even worse with the mineral deficiency is that we piss away all of the nutrients, enzymes, minerals, hormones in our urine. Not to mention further that urine also has colloidal gold, copper, silver, and a heap of monoatomic elements essential for spiritual growth and accessing or reawakening dormant parts of your brain. Pissing in the toilet enhances your mineral deficiency with cooked food, eating, and over drinking dead water to compensate from eating the dehydrated foods. The first step to remineralizing the body is urine therapy, along with whole foods. A few herbal supplements could help, and sea vegetables such as blue-green algae can help with the process as well. You see, so as you perfect your avatar and awaken dormant processes, you see, in the body, the urine will then start to, but the thing is, think about it though, like Namin, when you think about a breatharian, they don't, as we spoke before, they don't pee like that because they don't eat and drink like that, you see? So the bladder doesn't overflow. So they keep their blood plasma. So the blood plasma is actually aged. Okay, so a lot of yogis that don't eat and drink and keep their substances has aged blood. And aged blood is probably the most wisest thing in is the most wisest form of crystal, because blood is like liquid crystals, and crystals retain memory and can hold charge. Crystals can hold a charge. So the harmonics of your blood is clean, and your plasma is aged, where you ain't leaking out, and you celibate. You charge and can hold on to so much energy. All right? Hope this makes sense. All right, this is the last slide on urine. I think many times people were days away from dying, and urine pulled them away from death's door. Andrew Norton. All right. And scientists have discovered that urine, because it is actually extracted from our blood, contains small amounts of almost all of the life-sustaining nutrients, proteins, hormones, antibodies, and immunizing agents that our blood contains. Urine can be regarded as one of the most complex of all body fluids. It contains practically all of the constituents found in the blood. All right? So, beloved, to us, the public, urine seems like an indescribable waste product of the body, but to the medical research community and drug industry, it's considered to be liquid gold. All right? And constituents of the blood, sealing the loop. I'm going to send some reading material. There's a book that I really want y'all to get, because it deals with the application of urine, how to boost its benefits. If you have any ailments in your body, if you want to clean out your channels and stuff like that. Okay. So next, oh boy, this is the one the sisters don't like, boy. They don't like when men talk about this. They'd be like, well, you're a man, yeah, but I feel like y'all are at a place where you open, right? So now menstrual blood is also breaking the loop, because you losing charge from the avatar. You losing the work of the avatar. So the funny thing is, the body is working towards immortality, but it's us that kick immortality out of the avatar. You see? So if you lose too much blood and cannot get a transfusion, you die. Blood is our life force. Nocturnal emissions are the same as menstrual loss. Education is a tricky misnomer. The schools are not designed to educate, but to domesticate. We continue to believe the hype from mass media. Now let us cut to the chase. Menstruation is unnatural. If it is natural, why are there products on the market begging for your bucks to stop it? Menstruation in women corresponds to seminal ejaculations in men. It is claimed that there was a time in the remote past when menstruation was unknown among women. When it did occur, it was regarded as a disease requiring isolation. Primitive races today still regard the menstruating as suffering from disease. The women are isolated in a special building to recuperate during this period. Studies have shown that during the First World War, when food supply in Central Europe was very limited, and when the entire population lived on a low-protein diet containing very little meat or other animal products, a large number of women suddenly stopped menstruating. So when they talk about the study of women that bleed, they're talking about women that eat flesh, okay? There have been a large number of cases regarded in medical literature of women living to old age without menstruating once and have raised large families. Because you can still ovulate if you don't menstruate. This disproves the theory that menstruation is necessary for health or bearing children. Dr. Power writes in his essays on the female economy, were women living in a state of nature, there's no reason but that this discharge might be unknown. Havelock Ellis in his Man and Woman quotes are one author who claims that under natural conditions of living, a healthy woman will never menstruate. Wild animals in nature do not go through that process, but when domesticated and overfed, and as a result are overstimulated sexually, will menstruate at regular periods. The studies of Dr. Alexander Haig, Professor Arnold Rett, Dr. Havelock Ellis, and Professor Evans of the University of California concur with their studies on the effect of a low-protein, meatless diet in reducing and abolishing the menstrual hemorrhages. Oh man, I should have made that text big. I'm sorry if you can't see that, but I'll still read it off. The low-protein diet alone was not the case, but the separation of the sexes, with resulting avoidance of uterine congestion in women resulting from sexual stimulation. Since the men were away on the front, and after returning and at the close of the war, menstruation in women promptly reappeared. Diet and sex life of the woman has much to do with this issue. We look at the fact that nuns and women who live in chastity have very short and scanty menstruation periods, lasting no longer than a day or more, whereas the prostitute have a long, continued, and profuse menstruation, often lasting for 2 weeks or more. So that's where they talk about the sexual stimulation. Lust, too much sex, will cause women to bleed more because of the penetration. Please bear this fact, dietary methods for reducing and abolishing menstruation, having a low-protein, meatless diet to reduce the uterine blood pressure and flow, and preventing hyperemia, an excess flow of blood in this organ. Being intimate with a partner causes sexual excitation, will augment the menstrual tendency. Menstruation is a loss of female sex hormones, which are the source of female youth, beauty, health, and longevity. With chastity in play, the loss of sex hormone is secure as on the male. The sex hormone is used for other great accomplishments to occur, such as inventions, ideas, and mathematical wonders. With the low-protein, meatless diet, your mind is light, your thoughts are clear, your sight is greater, the senses are much stronger. The secret of female regeneration is to avoid the loss of female sex hormones through genital mucus discharge or hemorrhages. The masters of years past, such as Pythagorean, advocated continence as a practice of utmost physiological value both to body and brain. For he considered the semen as the flower of the purest blood. Menstruation loss in women is the same in value as semen loss in the male. So women that have a lot of sex that bleed more, you still losing seminal emissions. Oh boy, that's something else. This from a book I think this from, might be the 1800s, you know? So I think the name of it was The Physiological Enigma of the Woman. I think that's the name of the book. So, the periodic hemorrhage of the human female, a perpetual cause of distress and suffering to her from its first appearance at puberty until its final disappearance at the menopause, and a biological anomaly, has always been a physiological enigma both to her and to the opposite sex. From the earliest times until today, men have sought to explain this mysterious phenomenon, first in the form of religious beliefs and superstitions, and more recently in the terms of hormones. But never was the mysterious fully solved. The fact that the fact that lives, no, sorry, the fact that there are on medical record innumerable women who lived long, healthy lives and bore large families without menstruating once in their lives should indicate that this loss of perfectly good blood, the same as flows through the general circulation, is really not necessary to either health or fertility as commonly exposed. And the many cases on record of women who freed themselves from this hemorrhage by adopting a natural diet and mode of living would indicate that menstruation is more or less unnatural and a penalty for violation of natural laws. The fact that while emotions which do not menstruate often commence to menstruate under the unnatural conditions of domestication would confirm the conclusion that menstruation is a result of artificial living under the unhygienic conditions of civilization and is not natural. It would be paradoxical to suppose that woman, the most exquisitely fashioned organic creation of nature, and her finished masterpiece, should have been created with an original defect that wild animals, an inferior creation, do not have, and from which the relatively inferior male, which in all of his characteristics stands between her and the ape, is free from. This defect is her susceptibility to a periodic uterine hemorrhage after she reaches a certain age. Is this defect inherent in the female anatomical constitution? It is an acquired weakness due to certain unnatural conditions of living and eating attendant upon civilized living. Its absence among wild animals and its scarcity among stronger women of primitive races who live more naturally, and would indicate that menstruation is unnatural and that more natural living would lead to its disappearance. Okay. So you see, they did observations and studies of animals that was domesticated, that live with us and eat, like, the cooked animal foods and the natural foods. They menstruated, the female, the domesticated animals, but the wild animals didn't menstruate. They may have spotted a bit, but they didn't leak out blood for days. In the following pages, as we shall show that the latter is the case, and that menstruation is not only unnatural and unnecessary, but is injurious to a woman's health and well-being. We shall also show that a more natural diet and mode of living will cause it to progressively diminish until it finally disappears. Many physicians, whom we shall quote, have freed women patients from this debilitating hemorrhage by putting them on a special low-protein vegetarian diet. However, it has been found that dietary reduction of menstruation seems to work better among single than among married women, which indicates that the hemorrhage has another cause except acid toxicity of the intestinal tract and the blood. We have seen and shall see that this other cause has to do with the emotional and endocrine influences that cause frequent uterine hyperemias as a result of sexual excitation. A strict low-protein diet plus absence of pelvic hyperemia and vascular congestion, though loose clothing hung from the shoulders, low heels, and avoidance of erotism seems to be the formula that will cause this periodic hemorrhage to disappear. There's much talk about women's emancipation, but as long as the serpent of menstruation is coiled around her, she cannot be free. She will be afflicted
with a periodic hemorrhage which will drain her vitality until finally it brings on the ovarian degeneration, menopause, followed by the signs of senility. Thus, menstruation destroys her youth and beauty and brings an old age. Only when a woman frees herself from this serpent can she know that true health, liberation, and happiness are, and only through this physiological emancipation can she achieve her social emancipation. So, check it. Menopause is the end result of decades and decades of the vital loss of vital substances, sex hormones, iodine, so much things that are lost. Because why does the body age? Why is the body in mineral deficiency? The body is not in a mineral deficiency because of what we don't do. It's in a mineral deficiency and spiritual deficiency because of what we do and how we live. We cause the avatar to leak out all of the substances that it creates. It's self-sufficient. We made it not to be self-sufficient. That's what sin is. Sin is when you trapped, is when you deficient. The horns of the demon breaking the loop. And when you close the loop, celibacy, which is the highest form now, or tantric. But the problem is, tantric for women, when they penetrate it, how can women do tantric sex? You know, I wonder, I gotta look more into that, right? But you can see, just talking about celibacy and cultivation, the body then conserves the real food. The big joke is, we designed the body to produce its own food, but we leak out the real food and go to search for the matrix food. You see? So, continuing the book, years later, he met a young woman who confidently told him something he never heard before. She had lately separated from her husband and also went on a raw fruit diet, consisting mostly of fruit salads. She said that after she left her husband and adopted this diet, menstruation completely disappeared. She also added that she took cold baths every day in the month. This was the first time he had ever heard such a thing, for he believed menstruation to be a necessary aspect of female physiology between puberty and the menopause. A little later, he met another young woman who said that when she went on a vegetarian diet, she stopped menstruating for over a year, but menstruation returned when she went back on a meat diet. So when you condense to a lower vibration, okay, that's when you see the avatar start to leak. You know, because the reason you're at a lower vibration is because you're leaking out. The body's already working to build you back to that natural vibration, that high frequency of no suffering, of no pain. But we build and we create suffering by losing and breaking the loop, losing our energy. So a loss of sex hormones as well. The New York gynecologist, Dr. Frank, author of The Female Sex Hormone, says that menstruation involves a terrific loss of female sex hormones, which are present in menstrual blood, as much as 6 times the concentration in which they are present in the general circulation. And it is this continual loss of sex hormones during 3 decades of menstruation that bring on the menopause and its after effects, causing a woman to age and lose her youth and beauty. For this reason, menstruation brings on the symptoms of senility or old age. It follows from this that if a woman freed herself from this debilitating hemorrhage, she would preserve her youth forever, as is the case with the famous French woman, Ninon de Lechelle, whatever the word is, who, at the age of 90, looked like a young woman and was so beautiful that many suitors sought her hand in marriage. Oh, look, they trying to get her in marriage, right? And she may know better. No, don't get penetrated too much. This she accomplished through a special diet which freed her from menstruation, which is the key to female rejuvenation. And to anyone, a woman that watches this, why does it make sense that you want to, that losing blood is the key to your health? Why? Oh, well, the egg doesn't first. No, it's just that's how the body reacts when you on a low vibration on a meat diet. Now, if a woman eats meat and she don't have a menstruation, then that could be a problem, right? That could be a problem. But we talking about when you cultivating the higher levels of energy. That's where celibacy helps both man and woman from losing energy. And here's the secret. The body has backup glands to revive a woman from menopause. So menopause is not this stage that you get into that, oh, I'm in menopause. I'm basically not sterile anymore. I'm not, no. Menopause ain't the end. You could conserve and cultivate, and they have the body has backup glands. And if you want to look deep into that, get the book, The Wounded Womb. That's 1,000 pages. That's a cult book on the female physiology written by Dr. Phil Valentine. It's a lot, but it's simple. So once again, the physiological enigma of woman consists in a before puberty, should be converted into a relatively inferior subjugated one after puberty. The cause of this transformation and of one's woman resulting subjection to man is evidently the menstrual process. Has man, through false religious teachings, purposely foisted this handicap on woman, who was formerly his superior and entirely free during the original matriarchal age in order to sexually enslave her? And if so, is the only way in which she can become free from such enslavement and come into her own to free herself from this unnatural hemorrhage, which, as we shall see below, may be accomplished by natural and hygienic living. So both man and woman, you see how we designed the game to be difficult? We wanted to experience lack because all we knew is perfection. So we engineered this vehicle and this whole matrix where we living in a way where we leaking out, and it's an illusion because the only way to experience lack is to live a life of constantly leaking it out. So it's a discipline to live a limited life. Hal, if you hear me now, it's a discipline to live a limited, non-spiritual life because you gotta eat every day, you gotta sex a lot, so think about that. We working hard to be limited. Whew. My Lord. One reason why menstruation imposes such a drain on the female brain, as witnessed by the mental depression and nervousness that reoccurs at each menstrual crisis, is because it involves an abundant loss of iodine. And ask woman, if menstruation is so natural, why you so fucking moody when you're on it? Why you don't feel good? You think it's okay to, you having a bad day and you having these mood swings and that's natural for you to feel that way? That's just the design of life? Come on, man. So you see here, loss of iodine, calcium, lecithin, inhibiting female cerebral capacity and brain development. So from puberty, and we all grew up eating meat, eating cooked food and stuff. Puberty, that's when, can you imagine if the woman never lost her vital blood? If a man knew about self, we would be reconstructing this whole matrix to match the higher plane, the higher worlds. So there's a loss of iodine. This explains why the thyroid gland tends to swell up at the time of menstruation, just as it does under conditions of iodine deficiency. Since iodine is necessary for the formation of the hormone thyroxine by the thyroid gland, which is necessary for the normal brain growth and efficiency, for which reason the birth of congenital idiots is common in inland regions where soils and foods are lacking in iodine, which the result that the thyroid gland does not receive sufficient of this element to form its normal internal secretion. We can understand why menstruation is such a drain on the female brain. Added to a loss of iodine is a loss of lecithin, a phosphorized fat essential for the nutrition of the brain and the myelin sheets of the nerves, and also loss of calcium, which stabilizes the nervous system. The loss of these vital substances, plus others, explains why menstruation acts as a drain on the growth and vitality of the female brain, whose development and capacity would be much more greater if it were eliminated. Let me share another secret with you. If you have a clean diet and you celibate, right? Let's say you ain't engaging in sex, or, you know, like, well, let's just say, no, you ain't engaging in getting penetrated. The blood that's spotting out of you, right? Let's say you have a quick little spotting or some blood is leaking out. You could actually drink it and have a whole spiritual experience and feel charged up. But it's not like urine where it's already filtered. Like you have to have a clean diet. You can't have a bunch of soul ties with sexual partners. You got to get past trauma, and, you know, you got to be more in a place to even drink your menstrual blood. You see? But you can do that. But again, you could find a woman talking about it on YouTube. It ain't a lot though. You know, but that's in something else. And your spouse could drink your menstrual blood. You see? It'll give you a DMT hit, from what they say. I ain't did it, you know, but I know people that, you know, couples, twin flames, so to say. You know, I know that they did it, you know. The greatest drugs are the drugs produced by the avatar. Get that psychedelic hit. Why do you think the elites love to drink blood? From children. Adrenochrome, right? So, menstrual cycle. You see here, this is a big one. You know, any sister that's like addicted to sex, have a high meat diet and, you know, and just addicted to sex and stuff like that, she's really inclined for having menorrhagia is the medical term for menstrual periods with abnormally heavy or prolonged bleeding. Although heavy menstrual bleeding is common concern, most women don't experience blood loss severe enough to be defined as this condition. But this is a horrible condition. And any woman that deals with this, they lose their youth so fucking quickly. So quick, you age, you know? So again, family, the reason we believed we needed to start eating foods, because foods were medicines, literally, because our avatar started to leak out, you see? And we started to have mineral deficiencies from addictions to sex and stuff like that, where the avatar already created its own minerals and it already had you covered. But we needed to use certain herbs and foods and plants that would then stimulate the cells to start recreating that mineral. But if you keep on living the lifestyle of breaking the loop, you're just going to keep wasting it away. So the intestinal flora never really gets to the point where it builds the body. So constituents of the blood, menstruation, low protein diet, fruitarian, vegan, also not to consume too much starch, and chastity, sexual abstinence. You see, or just, you know, you in marriage and, you know, your husband, y'all on the spiritual path, you could, you know, you could make love in a certain manner. That's a sexual magic, right? It's not like the pounding like people see on porn and stuff like that, you know? So anyway, what's next? Nature. So this is getting to the end. Nature is the universal mother of all, and if you are in harmony with her, if the mirror of your mind has not been made blind by the cobwebs of speculations and misconceptions and erroneous theories, she will hold up before you a mirror in which you will see the truth. Nature. If you are committed to the idea of saving the world, beloved, that is bullshit.
There is no saving the world. That's its idea, that matrix idea. If you are committed to the idea of saving the world, you lack the understanding that nature or the universe represents a divine intelligence not fully comprehended by human understanding. Humans cannot destroy nature in the long run, but nature can destroy humans. The very idea of saving nature can be egotistical. It's like trying to say divine intelligence doesn't know what it's doing. What is meant to be said is that we are trying to save human perception of the world. That's what we want to do. We want to align our perceptions with the laws, because the laws is already perfect. The world already perfect, you see? So we want to align our human perception of the world, and that in itself is a distortion. A light worker strives to help humanity to align its perception with the laws of life, to understand the divine presence in everything, not fixing the universe, but instead fixing themselves, doing the shadow work. So the road less traveled is a hidden occult term, has nothing to do with what people think it is. It actually deals with breaking through the thresholds of third density. This place all exists in our heads, within one's own mind. The earth, the third dimension, the matrix, are nature elements being bent by mind powers, reflecting back our deepest desires and intentions. Every time you think, you create an atom. So once again, the soul, vehicle for spirit. The vehicle you charge up to transcend out of the matrix. The soul is a nature element. Just because man has a soul does not mean he, she is a divine entity. You have a potential, as we said. A soul is something we grow. It's a substance that we harvest through right living, right eating, right thinking. A soul is an elemental unit for the alchemist. It is up to the entity to master and conserve this divine elixir. Soul is not intelligent. It is the grounding soil or breath form that intelligence can potentially use to bring divine perfection to the realm of third density. In other words, soul is a tool that God uses to exteriorize its intention through its hydrogen-based atom. And once again, I wanted to end it with this. Your secret is yet to be revealed. A secret is a verb. It's a living entity, living intelligence that we hide away from ourselves through self-deception and living against the laws of life. It remains occult because we keep it in the occult, never allowing the embryonic light body to grow in the physical body and become one. The secrets of life are not in a book or some mere poetically expressed phrase. The greatest secrets are revealed as a state of being. The quality and imbalance of secretions and an unobstructed internal river provides the neophyte with a direct guidance and intuition to navigate any plane of existence. The true teachers manifest through these substances as carriers of intention. So the true teachers, the true inspirations are when you close the loop and you realize that the secret is what you are, what you were, and what you will become. They're all the same damn thing. Your goal is you want to go back to what you fell from, even though it was your choice to fall, to hop into this cosmic game, you see? And you realize that our intelligence and our higher self and the higher parts of ourself remain in the occult and hidden from us because of our sinful habits. We keep it hidden from us. The minute you stop doing that shit, it's like the clarity comes. The only deception that exists in all the galaxy is self-deception. The matrix is built to enforce your self-deception. And that's what you gotta rise above. So that's the end of the class. Sorry, I did not edit it once again. I am sorry. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was thought-provoking.
you know, and it really kind of, you know, brought some things together and how it makes sense and how the male principle, the female principle, male and female, how the lust, the sexual lust causes both of us to lose fuel and ship. Like it's almost like spiritual fuel to fuel up and gas up to transcend. You see? Because the body trying to leave, you know. When you fast, you notice it's trying to clean up the channels and get out of it and get out. Like, hey, this place is, I ain't from here. But we choose to stay here from choices and habits. So next class is session 5. What really is meditation? Practices that lead the neophyte, the newbie, to be sustained by the higher forces. Okay. And for anyone that, for the last, if you made the first payment, the first payment of $100 is only for session 1 to 4. The next payment of 100, or you could send in 50 for this class, is for the next 3 classes, the practices. So you would have to send in your next payment to attend this class, session 5 and session 6, and then to get into the practicalities, okay? So anyway, family. All right, I just stopped. Let me stop.